Hello and welcome to Heartistry. Can't wait to tell you about today's guest. I think it's going to be such a fun conversation. Here's why. Today, we welcome Nadir Shah. Nadir is a comedian, content creator, and a marketing leader with over 17 years of global experience across tech, retail, and finance. Nadir spent over a decade at Visa, where he led content strategy and helped shape Visa's presence across the digital sphere. Today, Nadir creates comedic, culturally rooted content for a growing audience of over 240,000 followers with hundreds of millions of views across platforms. He's known for his sharp wit and taking on immigrant life, parenting, and modern culture. Another blends storytelling with insight, trying to convey a social message through his comedy. Nadir's journey so far offers a unique perspective on building audiences and meaningful connections in this digital age. Can't wait for this conversation. So, without further ado, please join me in welcoming Nadir Shah to Heartistry. Hello, Nadir. Great to have you on.
Hi, good to be here. How are you?
I am great. I'm great. I'm excited to have this conversation. You had my cheeks sore for quite a while after I got a chance to see you live very recently in the Bay Area. And I've been following you on Instagram much prior to that, but really love what you're doing, what you're sharing, the content you're putting out there. So excited to perhaps laugh a lot and also hear all the backstory of who is Nadir Shah.
No, thank you for having me and excited to have this chat.
Great. Well, now they're what I love to do. I mean, I think again, there's what lies on the surface, how I even know of you, your comedy. But what I love to hear a little bit more about is that backstory, the origin story, if you will. Anything about your personal history, family history, where you were born, brought up. Eventually, we'll get to the present, but we'd love to hear more of how Nader came to be.
Yeah, well, I guess we will have to travel back long before time. I'm just kidding.
Absolutely.
No, so I born and brought up in Pakistan in Lahore. And then I went to university in Canada. I was there for maybe 3, 4 years. And then I came back to Pakistan for like a year. And then I was in Dubai for the longest time for
Okay.
about 13 years. And then
Oh,
I kind of
wow.
like,
Okay.
yeah. Dubai was pretty cool. It's kind of like second home. And then I moved to the States about 6 years ago.
Okay.
And I've always kind of like, you know, been the crazy one, I suppose, creating content and stuff like that. But at my job at Visa, I was doing something very specific to the creator economy. And my job was to figure out, how to incorporate creators in brand, what makes creators tick. This creator economy is huge. And it
Yeah.
almost started my public content. It almost started as like it actually was the reason I started posting publicly was to make sure that I have enough street cred with the agencies that we work with. And
Yeah.
all of these agencies were big names and they had all of these account managers and executives. No, we will tell you the
Sure.
treatment of how to do this stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and that's how I started getting into content. And then I just had one video that did really well. Uh,
Yeah.
Overnight, it was in like the millions of views.
Dang. And
And
what was what was the content of that?
do you remember that movie, Pathan?
Yes.
Okay. So there's this song, the Jume Jo Pathan song, and then there's the dance step the guy does with dun 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 dun. Tsh. So I was like, okay, wouldn't it be cool like if you use this dance step, but in like instead of like the dance step, you do the slap step when you're like slapping your kids. Um, if CPS is listening, I didn't
Right.
actually hit my kid, but it was that went really viral in like 2 days. It was up to like 4 million views,
Wow. And you
and
just did it just out of like, I'm just gonna have fun with this. It wasn't
yeah,
even anything.
yeah. And then I was
Okay.
like, okay, well, I did one. I Can I do another one? I mean, like because anyone can do one. And then like after 18, 19 videos, I had another video that did really well. And then I was like, I mean, anyone can do two. If I do three, then I will stick with it. And then after another 18, 19 videos, I got another one that did really well. And then I was like, okay, cool. I mean, I've proven to myself if I
Yeah.
can do three, then I can do it. So then I just stuck with it. That was 3 years ago.
Okay. Okay. Well, and going back to your childhood, like, is this anything? I mean, how, if you were to connect what you're doing as far as being a comedian now, to did any of that show up for you as a kid? Did you ever think about doing anything like this? Because I know you've got your online presence, but you're also doing live shows. I mean, you are a performer. You're writing your content. You're doing all this
Yeah.
stuff. Did any of that ever
You know what?
percolate back then?
I loved to perform, but I was always kind of like performing for family and friends, or I would just I wasn't like a stage performance. I would just
Yeah,
kind of like just be the funny person, or like I'd love to dance, and I'd do all of these things, and I was the one who the elders would say, "Oh, like get Nadir on stage to dance and stuff like that."
totally, totally.
I was like, "Acha yaar, theek hai," and then I would love it. Um, but I never really thought about like making a career out of it because, and through no fault of any person. But it's just like in Pakistan when you grow up, right? I mean, in our culture, not in South Asian kind of like this whole colonialism thing has like really taken its toll on us. And I was like, like
Just a little.
yeah, yeah. And no one ever says, oh, back in that time, like it wasn't like, oh, you're gonna be a dancer. That's awesome. It was like, is the guy from a good family? Is the boy from a good family? Achhe ghar ka hai, and then stable job,
Yeah,
right? Stable
yeah,
job. So I never really thought I'd make something out of it. Um,
totally.
but it just, every kind of like when I came to the US, I was like, man, people here are different. They're like, okay, fine, we'll just, we're not really liking this job. We'll just quit and follow our passion and figure something out. And I
Yeah,
was like, okay, well, let's try that for a bit.
right. Well, and it's true, yeah, I am that dancer and I am that one who went that way. I was lucky enough. My parents were like, my dad used to plant these seeds back in the day when I was in college. I did women's studies as undergraduate. And he's like, who knows, maybe you'll go on to teach, do something like that. Who knows, maybe you'll be a classical dancer. Cause I just started dancing at that point when I was an undergrad. So
Mm.
you really do never know. And yes, they were outside the box in many ways in the
Yeah.
way that they were verbalizing that.
Yeah.
But so now what does the extended family think? Do they love that you're doing it? Do they think it's a bit wacky? Do they?
No,
Yeah,
no. They always like similar to your dad. They were never not supportive. Like
yeah,
they were always supportive. They always were like, do it. It was in my head.
yeah,
And this it was not because of the family. It was like what my friends were thinking of doing when we were out
yeah,
in like jobs and stuff. So it was more
yeah,
of a societal thing, I would say.
totally.
So I mean, they've known me since I was a kid. They know I'm crazy. But once I started posting this publicly, I think more of my friends and colleagues were like, this is really going to impact your professional profile, because I was a senior director at Visa with like, global marketing, and I spent
Yeah,
like 13, 18 years in corporate.
yeah,
But I mean, I think just one thing leads to another, and I think the universe starts aligning itself with like,
exactly.
opportunities. I got into creator economy. I got the chance to try it. I was just and my craziness actually was benefiting my experience, and I was able to demonstrate, look, I know about content creation.
Exactly.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I would say that was probably like the colleagues and the friends were like initially, but even they now are like, wow, dude, like this
This
is
is great.
awesome. Just stick with
Yeah,
it.
love it. Love it. Let's go ahead. We'll take our first pause here. Welcome back to Heartistry. This is Farah Yasmin Sheikh, and today we are speaking with Nadir Shah and hearing a little bit about how you came into this. And again, I do love that it was this unexpected use of this very skill set that you had, the comfort of thinking outside the box, presenting yourself in a particular way that was very authentically, naturally you, and frankly, how that complemented your profession at the time. And then it took off. And so, are you still doing that same work professionally?
No, no. So
Okay.
I basically you saw that joke. I don't want to give it. I don't want to give that joke away. But essentially, I am now doing this full time.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, I was just kind of like just talking about how you know you always kind of like hedge. So I was kind of like hedging the, okay, well, I'm doing really well in comedy, but what, like this is not the traditional way to make money. So the remnants of that colonial stable job thing is kind of like
Completely.
still somewhere in there.
Yeah.
But I recently just decided to just focus on this full time, see
Mm-hmm.
how far I can take this. We'll see if it doesn't work. It doesn't work. But right now, I'm kind of it's going well. I had a I my last tour was sold out across. Pakistan, Dubai, and the North America. I did Houston, Dallas,
Mm-hmm.
Toronto, San Francisco, Chicago, Dubai, Lahore, Karachi. Every place was just amazing.
Yeah.
Lots of
Awesome.
learnings.
Of
So I'm
course.
gonna continue this.
I love it. I love it. And well, the show that my husband and I came to was definitely majority South Asians in the
Yeah.
room. Is that generally your audience makeup?
So I do both shows. I do South Asian. Well, my the audiences who've come to my tour are South Asians because
Mhm.
they've kind of like follow me through my content.
Sure.
But at the same time, I do like this under the radar comedy scene, local comedy scene in San
Yep.
Francisco Bay Area. It's in front of Americans, white people, that kind of stuff. It's all in
Mhm.
English. That's kind of like me sharpening my skills and kind of like
Yeah.
figuring things out and just kind of like pulse, finger on the pulse. That being said, I do feel like you have the Indian comedians, you have the Indian American comedians, you have a couple of Pakistani comedians who appeal to the broader American communities. You don't
Mhm.
really, if you think about it, have any Pakistani American comedian appealing to the Pakistani American audiences or the South Asian audiences.
Very true.
Um, and I feel like it might be a smaller niche, uh,
Mm.
but I think that there's a lot to be said and a lot I think these people will relate to um, from a perspective from a Pakistani American perspective. So I keep on kind of
100%.
like straddling that line of like, oh well, should I go kind of like towards that American scene or? But I feel like I want to kind of come to a point where um, maybe have everything done in English, but very, very close to the South Asian thing. But I
Yeah.
do feel like you lose a lot of the some of the
Yes.
punches, right? And
Completely.
when
I
in the
mean, just
bilingual,
even, what you were talking about, I born and brought up in the States, but my I'll say allegiance is definitely more Karachi than Lahore. And that even was just so fun. Like the Lahori Karachi, that
yeah,
sort of aspect of your content is really quite hilarious. And that's very nuanced,
yeah.
right? But I want to just some observations. I loved, and I think this might speak to the scene that perhaps you're a part of outside of the Pakistani community. You had some folks open the show that were not South Asian,
Yeah.
which I thought was great. I also think, to your point, that yes, we are seeing. I mean, it's great to see generally more South Asian representation, right, in this industry. But we've seen a lot of the Indian Americans, but it hasn't stopped Pakistani Americans from going. And let's hope it goes the other way as well,
Yeah.
because I'll say, at least from my vantage point in my personal experience as a Pakistani American dancer, this art form happens to be rooted in, yes, Indian classical dance, right? But I bring a perspective. I'd like to think that if Indian origin folks are coming, it's like, oh, hey, we didn't think about utilizing the art in that way. Similarly, I'd like to think that in the content of your comedy, and God knows, and you brought some of that into the show I went to too. We got to find those ways to build those bridges. You do it, of course, with the comedic tilt, which is sometimes required, even
Yeah.
for those heavy topics, right?
Yeah, yeah. No, I absolutely think that representation like makes a difference. It makes the other person think about things that they maybe didn't think of. There's a
Yeah,
whole lot that I haven't like I'm working on my second tour already.
wonderful.
Hopefully, October onwards. But there's a whole lot, we can talk about still that we don't talk about.
Yeah,
The representation of Pakistanis in especially in like Bollywood movies
yeah,
and so I feel like there's a lot of stuff to be discussed in front of maybe an Indian audience, kind of like playing those characters and then like
yeah,
them having in front of you and like,
totally.
so I do feel like it definitely broadens horizons. And I feel like the Indian comedy scene is just so far ahead. They're at Hollywood level, like they're like America level comedians right now. They've just got so much variety. They've got like people who speak to their own audiences within India.
Sure.
They've got people touring. They've got,
Yeah.
um, you know, um, they're professional. And I
Mm,
feel like if you think about it from a Pakistani perspective, you might have a handful of Pakistani American comedians who are in America, like just hitting mainstream, who are going
yeah.
like, and that's amazing. That we have representation there. But I feel like there's this big sect that kind of like just I think would can relate to what I have to say as well. So I guess I
Absolutely.
want to say short answer. Overall undecided, but I'm leaning more towards embracing the uniqueness of the Pakistani American
Yeah.
point of view.
Love it. Love it. Well, I will be there as often as I can.
Amazing.
Let's go ahead. We'll take our second break here. Welcome back to Artistry. This is Farah, and today I am chatting with Nadir Shah. And Nadir, a lot of the content you share via your Instagram account. At least that's I don't know if you're on TikTok as well, but I see you on Instagram. I haven't quite adopted the TikTok platform yet. I don't know that I will. But you really get your family involved, which is
Yeah.
hilarious. But give us a little BTS of that.
My family, all of these people, every single one of them are great actors, so it just makes it
Yeah,
easy. But of course, what's our actors without director? So,
clearly.
I'm half joking. No, I'm full joking. But no, they're very chill. Sometimes they get annoyed when I ask them for like, oh no, you didn't do it like right. You have to do it like three
Sure.
or four times and stuff like that. So, but on the whole, they're pretty chill. They're pretty good about like doing the different types of reels and stuff like that.
I
And by
love
the way,
it.
all of my content um, is rooted in like real life situations. Like
Yeah,
pretty much everything has happened. I obviously exaggerated to the next level,
sure.
uh, but it's happened. So
Yeah.
my son will say something, and I'm like, "Dude, this is so funny. We got to do something with this," and
Right.
then we'll just kind of like do it.
That's perfect. And did they ever come up with ideas themselves?
They sometimes they have an idea, but many of the times they are the idea, and they
Right.
unknowingly, kind of like say something that I'm like, oh, I gotta make something on this.
Yeah.
And then I just like a lot of the time something my wife says, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'll make a video on this and stuff like that, and then I'll tell my wife, and she'll give me a look. Oh yeah, okay, you're gonna make fun of me, and I'm like, no, no, it's just what you said, and then
Yeah.
we'll just start.
I love it. Yeah, I walked up to your wife that evening. She was at the front door, and I mean, she's become a bit of a celebrity herself because she's in all these videos. So she was lovely. But um, as you talked about, you are now doing this full time. So
Yeah.
give us a sense. Of course, when you're on tour, you're, in performance mode, so to speak. But when you're home, um, what is your day to day like? How are you? And again, you're an artist, you're an entrepreneur, you're a performer, you're writing, the content creation that you're putting out there, that's so much of your brand.
Yeah.
So how are you managing all of that?
So still, I want to say that I'm learning um, uh, as we go every day. Like I am the anti LinkedIn. You know what I mean? Like I have nothing to say of like proud to have figured this shit out. Like I mean, nothing like that sort at all. It is a learning every day. A few staples that I have, like so, I kind of like operate in chaos mostly.
Mm,
I know that I need to prepare for the tour. That's a hard line that I have, and so I try to write as much as I can. And then I want to make sure that I'm creating content, and then I'm trying to like structure everything else around those things.
yeah.
But as you said, I'm thinking of myself as like a startup slash entrepreneur. So there are a few different aspects that I haven't really put out there that I wanted to because I feel like everyone will benefit as well. I
Mm.
wanted to start something around content creation.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
uh, like just educating other people on how content creation is done or like what my experience with content creation has
Yeah.
been. I feel like there's this whole um, kind of like we can empower so many other people to kind of like do it meaningfully. So I think those are the three, four things. And now I'm
Mm,
starting to like develop my own, you know, advertising and sponsorship and all of those different types of strategies to take it to the
yeah.
next level because
Yeah.
I feel like the first tour showed that there is appetite,
Yeah.
and so now I've started thinking a little bit like a business as well,
Right.
but mostly it's just straying. I don't want to be consumed by, oh, this has to do, I have to like come up with like five different promotional
Right.
strategies. I just want to like
Right.
just do my material, get it out there, but do it in a way that kind of like just helps everyone else have a great time, and then
Yeah.
also helps me make a living out of it.
I love that. And yet, again, I think that this is the blessing and the curse, right? Of following your passion. And especially in those early years when there's the craft itself and the many components that make up that craft. Because I mean, again, you're talking about writing, but then once you decide on your content as far as what you're gonna throw into a show, then you gotta rehearse that. You gotta memorize that. You gotta, I mean, all of those components. I mean, you're an actor as much as it's authentically your words, you're up there performing. And so that the time needed for that cannot be negated either. But then, yes, the business, that side of it. Do you do it all on your own?
My wife helps me in a few aspects, but
Okay.
everything else is just me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta like
Yeah.
so. They say my wife says, but they say that I have like this idea of like doing everything myself because I want it done a certain way. That is partially true to some extent. Like I do want the creative elements to be exactly like I
Yeah.
want them to be.
Yeah.
But I think if I want to make progress faster, and kind of like go farther, then having a team. This is for anyone who is thinking about like doing content creation as a business. If you don't have anyone in the beginning, that's totally fine to be able to do it all on
Yeah.
your own. But if you see that your scale is increasing and you feel like you could achieve more or you're slower because you don't have any help, then maybe I'm starting to realize this. Then it
Yeah.
is, I think, okay to kind of like find help in those related areas. Um, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't. That doesn't mean that you should get bogged down by the steps of, oh, I must have this help before I start. That's not me. I start and then I'll be like, okay, let's do this as much as I can. Like, how can I do this to reach my end goal?
Yeah.
I never let the steps stop me from doing it.
Absolutely. And it's resource permitting as well,
Yeah,
financially being able to compensate someone and whatnot.
yeah,
Somebody gave me advice once. It is a tricky thing. You don't want to grow too fast, right? Because the moment you bring somebody on, you have to manage them. You're delegating tasks that once you just held within yourself as far as the knowledge, then again, your creative language and all of that, and then conveying that to somebody else. It takes time. Then there's accountability, not just them to you, but vice versa, right?
yeah,
But the advice somebody gave me once is when you get to that point where you can comfortably and at the scale and at the pace that you want to grow, think about the skills that you uniquely possess, right? And that essentially nobody else could do. And then what are all the other things you're doing and how can you start to offload those? So
yeah,
that's been at least how I operate, but it's sometimes hard to let go because,
yeah, yeah. I
yeah,
think so too as well. I mean, um, I feel like I had a because of like those 17, 18 years in corporate. I feel like um, I learned somewhere in my career
yeah,
that you have to like trust the other people to do their job, right? So
yeah,
I do think that that has helped. But there are certain things that like the learning curve, like teaching someone else is going to take a little time. And
yeah,
when you're operating in a mode where you are just like, man, let's just do it and just post it,
yeah.
you just are like, let's do it yourself. But I do agree with what you were just saying about like what is unique to you, and then finding other people to do other things. And yeah, that's kind of like the model that I'm working towards because I'm very like like I said, the first tour went really well. um, so I do want to take it to the next level with the second tour, and see where that goes.
Lovely. Awesome. Let's go ahead and take our last break here. Welcome back to Artistry. We are speaking today with Nadir Shah. And Nadir, I we love to go to comedy shows, and usually they're great experiences, but every once in a while, and even with some big names, we've been in a show where the comedian is getting heckled like crazy. And sometimes a comedian can really sort of recover from that, sort of silence the heckler, so to speak. We've seen sometimes they cannot. I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever been in a situation where either what you thought would land is just not, it's just not happening with that audience, and or somebody and or a small group is just acting a certain way that might be throwing you or just changing the general vibe and energy in the space, anything of that sort, and how you've overcome it?
Oh man, definitely. It's the same material can land with one crowd, and it won't land with the other crowd. That's happened a few times, and in the very beginning, it was just like I didn't know how to like because when you're creating content right on social,
Yeah,
it's different. In comedy, stand-up comedy, what's amazing and sometimes jarring is that you receive input real time.
yeah,
And so based off of that, then you kind of like, you deliver your next punch, or if it's like silent, it can kind of like throw you off. And in the very beginning, it did. And like as time goes on, I think it just gets easier because you start realizing that the objective is to tell stories. So if you don't receive a laugh at that specific point that you were expecting it,
yeah,
if you're telling a story to someone that it dissipates faster. Like it's
yeah.
kind of like the difference between performing in front of people or having guests at your house and you're just talking to them. And so
Mm.
every performance takes me closer to the point of just being so comfortable that I'm kind of like at a in my own living room speaking to guests. And I'm not like, I feel like every single time I go on, I learn something new. So it's not like there's like a end goal I see, or like an end pole. I think that it'll always be like this. Um, what I learned about hecklers, so far, and I haven't really been heckled, maybe just a few times,
Mm.
is that, as long as whatever is happening in the room is making people laugh, then
Hmm.
go with it. Even if it's about someone making fun of you, it's cool as long as everyone around you is having a great time, because the objective is to make sure everyone's having a great time,
Yeah.
right? Um, but if that is getting out of hand, or if that
Yeah.
person is just, like changing the vibe, or, taking things into a negative direction, that's where I would assume that you'd probably have someone, like escort the person, or,
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't been in that situation. I hope I never am.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like the objective is to have a good time. And so how
Love
do you
that.
make that happen? You know?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a great reflection overall. It's like, what's the larger objective here versus those sort of singular moments?
Yeah.
And that's super. I think that's a great life lesson, generally speaking,
Yeah.
right? It
Yeah.
really is. It really is. Well, speaking of advice, you've alluded to some already, just even, somebody not getting kind of stunted with this idea of you can't do it. No, you can. You can do the everything, even if that's in the initial phases.
Yeah.
But anybody else who might be listening and thinking this is something they'd like to get into, whether it is the content creation and or the extension of that, similar to your path with doing stand-up comedy, any thoughts, advice?
Yeah. I think a few important things would be, well, actually, number one is consistency. I think
Mm,
I think that consistency cannot, like, it's probably the most important. If I had just like one thing to say, I would say that. And it is only because, like, you learn so much. It's the consistency thing will teach you about, how to better create content, how to better write jokes. It'll make you excel in those specific, like if it's social media, how to edit, how to understand the algorithm, all of this stuff. And if it's
yeah.
performance, you'll start getting more confident. So consistency kind of like is key, I think. The second thing is probably going to be getting over yourself.
Mm,
Harder, what is it? Easier said than done, because what I see a lot of people say is, oh, like, what if I post and then it just doesn't do well, and then, then what? I was like, well, I mean, if it doesn't do well, then no harm, no foul, because if 50 people saw it, you don't have to worry about it. And if it does do well, and if you get thousands of views or hundreds of thousands of views, then great. Then the people who think this is stupid will say, okay, well, I mean, 200,000 people watched it, so it can't be that stupid.
right?
So either way, you win-win.
Yeah.
And all of the other stuff about, what type of content will you do you create, all of that stuff will evolve.
Mm,
Just have like why you want to create content, that kind of like idea of that. And as
yeah.
you go down that path, you'll continue to learn the specifics. Like, so for instance, for
Mm,
me, it's very much about like, um, creating comedy out of the cultural chaos. And it's not like I
mm,
want to do it in a way that demonstrates, like, shows the human condition a mirror, right? So
mm,
a lot of the stuff that I talk about is all kind of like, just pointing, like showing humanity who they really are,
yeah.
in different ways, and what it really means to be, in my opinion, like a different perspective on what it means to be human.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, so I try to just like focus on that, and everything that I do, every jokes that it'll literally be linked to that somehow. So
Yeah.
just be consistent, get over yourself, and just, you know, start doing it.
I love it. I love it. All again, great advice for what you're doing specifically and anybody who might want to endeavor into that. But again, I think something that's applicable to many of us in whatever we're doing or considering doing. So thank you. Thank
I
you.
appreciate it.
Do you have so you mentioned the second tour. What's your timeline on that? Anything that you can share at this time that's coming up?
I'll probably start touring again October onwards. Before that, I
Okay.
might have like a couple of San Francisco shows with the sneak peek into the new material.
Great.
Not big ones, but small ones. There might be a few uh, gala, like foundation galas that I
Right.
might be participating in during the summer. And then hopefully, oh, I will be doing New York South Asian Comedy Festival in October,
Fantastic.
and then yeah, starting off with my tour October or November, most likely. Uh,
Fantastic. Oh, I
cities
love
near
it.
you.
Beautiful. And in case any of our listeners are not already following you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Instagram, it's Nadir Shah. That's basically where I post most of my stuff and the dates for my tour. And,
Okay.
we're building a whole thing around, a more stronger like digital presence with a website and, like more information. But right now, that's the fastest way to see what I'm up
Perfect.
to.
Perfect. Oh, well, Nader, it's been such a joy, really. Again, you just give a lot of joy, generally speaking. It's
I
been a
appreciate
joy
it.
to, watch your content, get some laughs, talk with friends about what you're putting out there. Again, loved seeing your live show. Look forward to the next time and really appreciate your time today. This was really just so rewarding. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It means a lot.
Yeah, until next time, in person, online, or who knows. But this was
Absolutely.
great. Who knows? Maybe we'll collaborate. You'll get live dance at your show.
Yeah, that
There
could
you
work.
go. But for now, thank you for your time on Hardest Street.
Thank you.